What is up, YouTube? We made it back. What is up, YouTube? What is up? Man, it is good to be back. I apologize. I told you guys I was going to try to get in a couple streams while we were on vacation. Didn't quite work out that way, but we had a great time. We had fun. Family time comes first. And, you know, I always try to talk about the differences in, when your kids are young and when your kids are older, because a lot of our kids are the same age, so we kind of experience those cycles. And one of the cool things about older kids is you can do more things that are actually fun for adults. And the place we were staying at had a nice little, home theater system in it and everything. So we ended up watching movies after we were done messing around during the day and stuff. And it was, 12 o'clock or so, 11 to 12 most nights before the kids got to bed. But anyways, we're back. Let's hit the intro. Let's get into some best ball talk. Like I said, it's good to be back, guys. It's good to be back. Vacations are fun. This is where we want to be. Streaming best ball drafts for you guys. Just got back in town a couple hours ago. I got in about one draft a night while I was on vacation. It was really late, so I didn't really stream any. And I'm not a big drinker anymore, but a lot of the nights I had a few drinks in me, so we didn't necessarily want to mess with any pit bulls on vacation. So we figured tonight, the first night back, would be a good time to rip our first one. I got in a decent amount of the poodles, jumped in a couple of slows right before it filled up. We did not get to max it, but we got to think about 13 or so of them in, 12, I don't know, somewhere in that range. Anyways, if any of you want to jump in this pit bull with me, we're going to enter it in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excuse me. That is fast food on the way home from the airport talking to me. We are in it. We're waiting on 6 people, so there is still plenty of room. What is up, Who Hames? You can see the background. We made it home safely. Flew in a couple hours ago. Who Hames? I know you told me you're from Illinois, man. So my biggest takeaway, I guess I didn't remember, or maybe it's changed. I've been to Chicago one time about 10 years ago. And man, I grew up in Houston, so I'm used to crazy driving, but it is freaking nuts in Chicago. Maybe I just did more driving around this time. We were kind of all over, and the place we were staying was about a good 40 minutes away from downtown. Most of the stuff we were doing was down in downtown, but I guess the biggest shock to me was in Illinois, like so many intersections are just a madhouse. Like all kind of intersections where I'm used to having here in Texas, you'll have your protected green left so that you know when you can go left because it's a busy intersection. And me and my wife were joking. It became like a daily joke because it's almost like in Chicago, it's accepted that like if you're trying to go left at the light, you are going to pull out in the intersection, wait till it turns red, and then one, possibly two cars will go. And it was like it was funny because it was so like accepted of a thing that like here in Texas, like if you don't go straight as soon as that green light turns, people are honking at you. You better get to going. But there it was like everybody when their light turned green always waited a few seconds because they knew there was going to be a couple cars turning left on red out of nowhere. I don't know. It was interesting. We had a good time though. We can talk more about it. David, I see you made your way in here, and you're into the stream, and you're in the chat too. What's up, David? Huhame says Chicago sucks as a city altogether. I actually like Chicago as a city. I don't know. It was fun. We enjoyed it. There's a lot of cool things to do. A lot of good food. Food that's a little different than what I'm used to eating down here. What's up, Disbanded? This is a pit bull that we're in. You guys know the routine. We'll do 2 drafts at least, maybe 3. I don't know. We'll see how it's going. I'm open to suggestions for the second draft. A couple nights this week, I want to get back into some eliminators. I was just noticing when I was looking at some stuff at the airport today that I haven't drafted an eliminator in a good couple weeks now. So we definitely want to get in a couple eliminators. I definitely want to try to max this pit bull. I tell you guys that I'm not going to do that many BBMs on my own just because I don't think I don't like the structure of BBM, to be honest with you. And there's just other tournaments that I like the structure of a lot better for my money. So I'd rather play in those. But I'm definitely liking this pit bull. I'll pull it up on another tab so we can. I forget exactly what the advance rates were, but I know they were really good. What are we going to do with the first pick? Well, Puka's on there, still there at the 8 spot. So we got to rock with Puka. Need to jump over here and sign into the best ball overlay real quick. I just realized I haven't did that. Now, there we go. Now we got it going. We had a good time though, man. I don't know if you guys follow me on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter, go follow me on Twitter. I'd appreciate it. But I posted a couple pictures when we first got there, and we try to do give our kids the best life we can. Financially we're okay, and me and my wife kind of both grew up not really having much money. Our parents or whatever. So we try to do all the cool shit for them that we wish we could have did. And we rented this Airbnb. Hold on, let me make my pick here. Only 4% AJ Brown. I haven't really been that into AJ Brown. I have lad in like the eliminators and Superflex. But another thing I noticed looking over stuff today at the airport is I do not have any lad in regular style tournaments. Just the way I guess the drafts have been working out and some of the other guys around him that I am really high on. So we definitely need to start getting our lad exposure up. But anyways, there's some pictures on Twitter, and the place we were staying, it had a nice theater. I didn't post pictures of the theater room, but it had a nice big old 80-inch TV with some nice reclining, a real nice home theater system room essentially. And then the whole bottom floor, it was like an upstairs was the living area, and the whole bottom floor was like a kind of mini arcade. And so the kids were really loving that. And it was pretty fun. I played a lot of games with them too, of course. Let's catch up on the chat a little bit while we wait for it to come back to us. Put it on the board for you guys. Downtown Chicago is beautiful, but I've never been anywhere else in Chicago. Yeah, I like Chicago. I don't know. We went to a couple different parts, and we didn't really do the beach or anything like that. We're not big beach people, and my wife and the girls are going on a girls trip at the end of July. They'll be doing a lot of beach stuff on that trip anyways. Let's see what we want to do here. You know what? I haven't been I'm about to say I was gonna grab me a Marvin Harrison share. Let's go McLaurin. We're gonna start this one off. Receiver, receiver, receiver. Get that wide receiver firepower. Puka Lad and Terry McLaurin. We'll see what flips around to us here. Yes, the weather, we had a couple days where it was actually really nice weather, anywhere from 79 to 82 was the high. I guess the heat followed us from Texas though, because there was a couple days it was in the upper 90s. Of course, we're used to it here where I live, so it wasn't really a big deal. It didn't stop us from having fun. We kind of did more of the indoor stuff we had planned for that day. Must not have been there in the winter. No, no, no. I would not go there in the winter. I go there in the summer. I'll go there in the summer to escape this Texas heat. I'm aware of what the winters up that way can be like though. I've lived in Texas all my life with the exception of 4 years when we had to move to St. Louis, Missouri for what my wife had going on. And so I experienced a little bit of, St. Louis and Chicago. I'm assuming they have pretty similar winters, and the winters there in St. Louis definitely did suck as well. All right, boys, they are just going to keep giving us a lot of the receivers that we really like a lot. So we are just going to have ourselves a full out piss boy draft in this room. Puka Lad, Terry McLaurin, Tet. My three elites that I like. Well, I haven't been drafting Allen as much lately, but I've been really into, y'all know I've been into Lamar. Y'all know how I am on the Ravens. And I've been drafting a fair amount of Jaden lately, I find myself. That's why I took Terry and that third round pick, seeing if Jaden would come back around. He didn't, so we'll take Tet. No big deal. Let's see. Try to catch up here some with you guys. It was mild of a summer. I will not be going there in the winter. That's okay. I actually love my Texas winters here. They're not that bad. We might have 3 weeks a year where it gets just unbearably cold. We don't have all that snow and ice on the roads. If we do get like even a hint of ice, everything's shutting down. So you're not going anywhere anyways. Schools are shut down. A lot of work gets shut down. David said he's down for an eliminator. Let's do it, David. We'll do an eliminator next. Mark says he's in on the eliminator too. Eliminator coming up after this one. It's a done deal. I have not did the single entry tournament. I only got in about one draft a night on vacation, other than some slows that I hopped in, and I was mainly just trying. Pretty much every night I drafted poodles, except for last night. The poodle was already closed by the time I got on, I think. So I did a couple super flex last night. We didn't stream them though. It was really late. It was normally like 11:30 or so by the time the kids went to bed. So just hopped on, got me a little quick draft in. Got to stay sharp. Got to stay on it. I've been really into Walker and Mixon. I have a lot more Walker than Mixon, so I'm gonna go Mixon. Plus, people have been kind of scared by that OTA ankle injury of Walker. So who knows? Maybe we can get him to flip around and come back to us. I am going to do that one single entry, that little $5 one. I just hadn't did it yet. It's just JT Best Ball. If you just search JT Best Ball on X, should be able to pull it up pretty easy. What's up, Doc? Good to have you back in the streams as well. Oh, speaking of which, I owe you guys a challenge draft. I haven't forgot about it. I didn't obviously get to stream on vacation, and tonight we got back in town kind of late and everything. I barely got all my stuff set back up in time. So it's coming though. If not tomorrow night, for sure Wednesday night. It's coming. We're gonna do the two drafts of a challenge. I'm also hoping to open up some more, another puppy or schnauzer or something like that. Those kind of good for like a challenge draft type deal. We need another running back here. I've taken Harvey in a couple slow drafts recently. His percentages aren't showing up because those slow drafts are still going. But now Harvey's gotten to a price where I kind of like him, in the mid 60s. I wasn't really drafting Harvey at all until the Dobbins signing. And even once Dobbins signed, I figured I'd give it a couple weeks to let that price come down a little bit. But yes, I got you guys. Sometime this week we will be doing the challenge draft. If you have an idea that hasn't already been said or just want to throw a new idea out there, as soon as this stream's over tonight, just hop back in it. Post a post your challenge draft idea in the comment section so it's easy for me to go back and find. Yeah, the traffic there, just the way people drive there, and I don't know, maybe it's a southern hospitality thing, but overall, I think to me it seems like the random people down here where I live in Texas are just generally more friendly and nicer than, you know, you don't see people going out of their way to wave, tell you hello, all that good stuff like they do down here in the South. But it's a nice city though. We took the little boat tour thing that goes up through the river and stuff like that. That was pretty interesting. We did the shed, walked around on the pier. We did an escape room while we were there. Actually ended up doing two escape rooms because every time we do an escape room, my girls love them and my wife likes them a lot too, and they're okay to me. It's fun to do as a family. But every time we do an escape rooms know how to get you. They always have the, well, if you book another one today, you get 30% off. And it just so happened that we didn't really have anything major planned for Friday, and we had went to the escape room on Wednesday. So we ended up doing two of them, but they were fun. A little different than the ones we did down here. So that was nice. What are we going to do with this pick? Let's see here. We need to start putting this team together a little bit. We got two running backs we're okay with for now. We got four receivers. But there's not really a whole lot else. Even if Diggs starts a little slow, that's okay on a team like this because he's my fifth. It, of course, opens up the one, the only Drake May. I'm not as into Drake May as the leg up guys, but I definitely like me some Drake May. That's tough to spend it. I can't lie, it wasn't that rough for me, but my parents definitely didn't have a ton of money, and we didn't have a whole lot of, just super fun, cool ass vacations. Most of the time, our vacations were like going camping, or something like that that didn't cost them that much money. But hey, I love them to death, and they worked hard to give me what they could, and I definitely always had a nice house to live in and food and clothes. So I'm definitely appreciative of that. But we do splurge a little on our kids. I can't lie. I think this is about the point of the draft where I want to grab me another running back. Let's go Pollard. Tennessee beefed up their O line a little bit this year. He's another guy that we can count on to get us some good weeks here and there. Team so far is a 3-5. Mixon, Harvey, and Pollard. Puka, Ladd, Terry McLaurin, Tet, and Stephon Diggs. Kind of thinking this is going to be a I don't know. Well, we'll see. I was kind of thinking I was just going to maybe go 3 super late tight ends on this team or 3 late tight ends on this team. That's probably what we'll end up doing. Yes, no, it was nice. And our tour guide, the lady that was at the front of the boat talking and stuff, she was really good. She knew a whole lot of detail about it and stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting. We'll catch you later, who. Yeah, that's a tough situation, David. More it's the great moms of the world, who do that. I got much respect for any, stay at home parent or even more so single parent. I got a brief taste of what it was like. It is no comparison to actually being a single parent. Let me make this pick and I'll tell the little story. I think I'm gonna go Tracy. I don't want to do one of the tight ends yet. I'm still in on Tracy. I like Scat too. Running back room starting to piece together pretty nicely, I think. Let's see. It's going to flip around to us here in a minute. Pick 113. Fields is gone. I'm going to stay here for a minute because I want to see. If I missed anybody, let me know. I know David's in the draft. We'll go back and look at his team in a minute. We've been talking about Chicago and life and such. We'll grab Drake here as long as the guy in front of me doesn't. It's part of why we took Diggs, setting that up. That'll also kind of play into the later tight end thing with Hunter Henry. Got some couple things in mind for the way back. We'll see how it pays out. No, so anyways, just with my wife's job, there was one particular time when we were moving from Fort Worth. Actually, there was 2 different times, but one of them was really short. But when we moved from Fort Worth over to Austin area where we live now, my wife's contract with her job she had in Fort Worth, she couldn't leave until the end of the year. But we didn't having, a lot of kids. We didn't want the kids to have to up and move schools in the middle of the school year and everything. So my wife just stayed with one of her friends in Fort Worth, and we went ahead and got, rented the place we were going to be staying out here in Austin, like before the school year started. And so it was basically from August through November that like Monday through about Friday evening, I was pretty much a single parent with 4 kids because my wife just stayed there in Fort Worth. And then when she got off Friday, she would shoot down here to Austin. It's about a 3.5 hour drive, and then she'd be at home all weekend with us, and either go back most of the time she'd go back Sunday night, like once the kids went to sleep or whatever. It was tough. I'm not gonna lie. Those few months were tough as hell. So I could not imagine somebody with no break or no help. At least I had her back on the weekends and stuff. We got Herbert to come back to us, which is what we were kind of hoping to do with Lad. It's working out a little bit for us. We have two later options that we could do for like a third QB on this team. Don't think we need to do that yet. 137. I think we want to maybe go ahead and grab another running back here, maybe. We have 5 receivers, and they're pretty strong. I'm gonna grab me some Trey Benson. Could this be the year that Connor's age finally catches up with him? Possibly. If nothing else, Connor does seem to, miss a few games here or there. I really like Benson as a prospect. I know that he just had a horrible rookie season, but we just saw it 2 years ago, right? Like with Tank. Now, no, Benson, I don't think is going to overtake Connor as the starter with Connor healthy, but um, Tank in Jacksonville, he had the horrible rookie season, and then last year was actually really, really good. So it can happen. It can turn around. So I've been into Benson this year. I think he has a lot of nice upside if there was to be an injury to Connor. What's up, Hartman? Good to see you in here, buddy. We are back. We are drafting a pit bull. The chat said we're doing an eliminator next. If you want to hang around and hop in that one with us. Putting this team together okay, I think. We got Drake and Herbert, Mixon, Harvey, Pollard, Tracy Benson as the running backs, Puka Lad, Terry McLaurin, Tet, and Diggs at the receiver spots. We'll see what comes around here. I can wait on that actually. 150s. I think I want to hold off a little bit more on running backs because I don't know if I'm going past 6. I'm not super into QJ, but because we have Herbert, we'll go ahead and do it. Let me check one thing first. No, I don't need QJ that much. Let's go ahead and get Bryce. That makes more sense because I got something else I want to do here on the back end. And we're going to have to go 3 later tight ends. So that sets up. We could try to work it out and get Sanders, have Bryce double stacked. I got a different play in mind that would give me a double stack with Herbert. What's David doing over there in the 2 hole? JJ, Devontae Adams, Wilson. I love that start. JJ, Adams, and Wilson. I've done that same combination a few times myself from the 2 or 3 spot. Omarion Hampton, Calvin Ridley, Judkins, Laporta, Mahomes with Kelsey, and then Andrews, Spears, Eckler, Tillman. We'll look at it overall at the end, of course, too. Like it a lot, though. I haven't been able to get in on Laporta this year, but a lot of the other players, especially in your first 7 picks or so, 6 picks, are all guys that I'm super high on this year. I'm going to go ahead and grab Henry with this pick. If I can get things to work out the way I want it to, we got a plan. Let's see if we can finish this one off. Let me look at one thing real quick, too. Yeah, I think it's going to work. We just need to keep in mind where we're at. Could work out real beautiful, actually. We'll see. 2 more picks till we get there. Just working out some stuff in my head, guys. That makes sense. That makes sense. I just feel like my thing with Laporta is in general, I'm a little worried about Detroit this year. I've said it before with, losing both linemen that they lost, the center abruptly, which they probably had some heads up that he was going to retire. They lost their all-world guard in the offseason. Offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson is gone. I don't know. And more so with Laporta, it's just I like Hockenson a whole lot, who goes right after him. And I'd probably rather pay up for Kittle, especially with we don't know how much time Ayuk's going to miss this year. He's going to miss some time, I think, to start the year. And we don't know how much time he's going to miss. And so that makes me like Kittle even more. Like, there's a world where the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season, like, Kittle literally is like their wide receiver 1. And he still, of course, has good late season value too. I'm going to hop over Demario Douglas, even though he's a stack, because I don't need May triple stacked. I kind of been getting really into Hopkins lately. I know it's gross. I know y'all going to scream at me in the chat. I think I'm up to like 16% or something on Hopkins now. But it's like, I think there's a world where with Lamar, he's just a really good 15th round pick for some spike weeks in that offense. I know he didn't do anything last year, and I'll be the first to admit that even once he went to Kansas City, he looked slow. He looked like he lost it. But he also fought a knee injury all last year. So I don't know. I can't lie. I've been grossly into drafting Hopkins. Probably more than I should the last few weeks. Part of it is because until Keenan Allen signs, I'm kind of trying to tell myself, as much as I love clicking Keenan Allen, I should probably hold off on him because his percentage is extremely high on the JT Best Ball portfolio. But we're not going to stop drafting Giddens. We will not. Can't do it. Won't do it. Hey, at least somebody's on my side. What's up, Dark Side? Candyman dropped in. What's up, Chris? Good to see you in here tonight. It's just talking about how I'm grossly been into drafting Hopkins lately. I just got this feeling, like I don't know. Y'all know me. I'm a vibes drafter. And I just have this feeling that if the knee injury that he had at the beginning of the year last year that kept him out, I believe, if I remember right, early in Tennessee. And I read a report this offseason where he was saying that talking to someone in an interview this offseason and was basically saying that his knee was never really quite right last year, that it was good enough. It got to a point he could play through it, but it was never really good. So is there a world where playing with Lamar and in that offense, he's a really nice spike week? I'm not drafting him in the 15th round thinking that he's going to hit my lineup every week. No, he's not going to be that player, but he has amazing hands. He's always been a good end zone, red zone type receiver. Playing with Lamar, I could definitely see some really nice spike weeks. I think we're going to land this plane exactly how we wanted to. The plan was to go, once I kind of saw who my quarterbacks were going to be, was to just simply take their tight ends, Hunter Henry, Jatavian Sanders, and the way that the coach is talking up Gatson, I kind of want to get him on some Herbert teams. I don't know how much I'll draft him when I don't have Herbert, but we got Herbert. And so that'll give us a nice little triple stack with all three of our double stack with all three of our quarterbacks, where we have one of their tight ends and one of their receivers. And I'm liking that. I am liking that. Yeah, we knew what you meant, David. Nobody cares about week 18. We are thinking about pre-draft NFL best ball in week 18. And just looking forward to the real playoffs in general. All right, that'll finish ours off. We'll call it out. We'll wait for David to finish up his. We'll run over David's team real quick. And then we'll hop in an eliminator for anyone who is interested in joining that with us. 3663 for our first pit bull. I really like it. Drake May, Herbert, Young are the quarterbacks. Mixon, Harvey, Pollard, Tracy, Benson, and our boy Giddens at running back. Wide receivers, Puka, Ladd, Terry McLaurin, Ted Diggs, and D Hop as our sixth and final receiver. We have the three tight ends that stacked up: Henry, Jatavian Sanders, and Gatson. We're feeling pretty good about it. Let's see what David's working with over there. 2763. Pat Mahomes and Sam Darnold. You guys know how I feel about Sam Darnold, so I cannot say I like that QB room. But hey, I could be wrong. And if Darnold is pretty good, it could definitely work. Hampton, Judkins, Spears, Eckler, Braylon Allen, Nick Chubb, Jaquez Hunter. I like that running back room a lot. JJ, Adams, Wilson, Ridley, Tillman, and Jalen Royals to go with Mahomes. He had Kelsey as well with Mahomes. Laporta, he said to bring back for JJ, and Mark Andrews. That's a really strong tight end room, especially you guys tell me in the comment section, like, I've heard little rumors, rumblings about Kelsey losing weight and Kelsey coming into this year in the best shape he's been in a long time. It almost sounds like maybe he's planning on this being his last season and he wants to, go out kind of with a bang, not be as forgotten as he was last year. Let's face it, for him, he did not have a good year at all. What do you guys think? I'm trying to talk myself into drafting some Kelsey because I haven't really been into drafting him this year. I know on this particular team it's because you had Mahomes or was doing the Mahomes thing. That's good value on Mahomes too. He fell about 10 picks. Got boxed out at quarterback, I'm assuming, so I had to just deal with Darnold. I'm sure you'd probably rather have a little bit better second QB on a 2 QB team. Really like the running back room though. Nothing wrong with the receiver room. I like all those guys. They're some of my favorites too. JJ, Adams, Wilson, Ridley. You guys see me draft them a lot. And you guys know I draft any Ravens. We're all about the Ravens here at JT Best Ball, the nightcap. All right, guys, let's go get in an eliminator. And then we'll talk some more, catch up and chat. Do we have options on the clock, or they just give us one? We'll go with a 20-second one. Who knows? I'm feeling good. Maybe we'll do a third draft tonight. 20-second eliminator in 3, 2, 1. Hopping in it now. 8 spots available still, so plenty of time for you guys to hop in. It was awesome, man. We were talking about it a little bit at the beginning of the stream, so I don't want to necessarily bore people who've been here since the beginning tonight. But it was fun. I didn't get to stream because we had a little home theater in the Airbnb we were staying in, and the kids stayed up till dang near 11:30 every night watching movies when we got home from running around and eating dinner and stuff. So, but it was great family time for sure, which is always important. They're only going to be kids once. Hopefully they're making good memories that'll last forever. I know as a dad I am. "20-second eliminator, 4 more spots. If anybody wants to hop in it with us. If anybody else wants to do another draft after this, I am again open to ideas for that draft. As I might do a third one tonight. We didn't get in near as many drafts this past week as we were hoping to sneak in on vacation. So we got some catching up to do. We could do that, David. I still got my $5 single entry left. We can run that next. I'm down. My last eliminator, Liam was in at the 1-1. I'm going to try something different this time. You got to get the 1-1 if you want to try what he tried. But I think I kind of know your plan. I remember you told me about it the other day. If you missed the beginning, yes, I still owe you guys the challenge draft night. Probably it will be Tuesday or Wednesday, either tomorrow or Wednesday. One day for this week for sure. I'm kind of trying to wait a little bit too to see if they'll open up another, $5 or $3 regular type contest. I think those will be the best. Yeah, Liam will definitely be the first one to tell you that too. I listen to some of his stuff. I don't really since I started streaming, I've been making a point to try to listen to a lot more of the other, littler or smaller creators like myself, show them some love and stuff. And so I really haven't been listening to much of what we would consider the big boys, or the ones who kind of dominate that daytime area and been around for a few years. You guys know who they are. We don't need to say all their names, but of the bigger creators, Liam has always kind of been one of my favorites to listen to. I just like his style. I tend to agree with a lot of his player takes. And one thing I like about him is I feel like, nothing against the other guys, but I feel like in we'll say the mainstream best ball YouTube space, sometimes it's like whatever the whatever's popular everybody's on or everybody's talking about, whether it be like a certain type of build or a certain player take or something. And one thing that I've noticed over the years is Liam isn't afraid to just think what he thinks, even if it's different than what the meta is right now for this particular build, or what in general the market is saying about this particular player. And I respect that a lot because I'm that way, but it's a lot easier to do when you're not a streamer, or it's a lot easier to do even when you're maybe a newer streamer starting out, but to kind of have a big following and also somewhat, you know, be in the know with all those other big guys and still be willing to do that. I don't know. I just always kind of respected that about him. Liam has had a lot of good takes for sure. He's kind of a hard hit against certain players, though. Yeah, don't we all, though, to some degree? I'm trying to be better this year about not being so hard headed on certain things, like 0% Derrick Henry last year. I don't know why you wouldn't have at least a few shares. I had a few shares, but it was definitely just a few. That was one thing that I was also very hard headed about last year. We got the 3 spot. Let's see who else is in here. I guess Mark did not make it. No, there's Mark. Mark's in the 10 spot. David's in the 12 spot. Keep an eye on you two. Y'all will be fighting over some of the same players. We're up here in the 3 hole. We're liking that. The one that really hurts me from last year and just kind of made me be, I've talked about it before. Last year, I think I didn't do a good job of, throughout the summer, on a weekly basis, really evaluating where I was at on certain players and reevaluating my stance on certain players, especially the guys that I was either super in on or super out on. You know, asking myself repeatedly over and over all summer, like, is this really a guy I want to be out on? Is there something I'm missing here? Because the one, when it was all said and done, that was just pretty clear slap in the face, or pretty easy to see. I know it's an eliminator, but I'm still gonna go JJ. Let's go JJ. I think it'll be some running backs we like on the way back. But Barkley, going in the early second round or whatever last year, was just, looking back, should have been such an easy click. I mean, I remember last year I didn't like, for a lot of the summer, especially late in the summer, I didn't like a lot of the people at the 1-2 turn. I remember doing some weird things like pulling other guys who generally are like later second round picks up to the 1-2 turn just to get different and draft a player I wanted to draft. And I wasn't a full fade, but I was pretty close to a full fade on Barkley. The main reason that everybody who was out on him last year, talked myself into, oh well, he always gets banged up, and Jalen Hurts is gonna steal all of his touchdowns. And looking back on it, a guy with his skill set, who I always liked as a player on the shitty ass Giants, now going to the team with, if not the best, one of the best offensive lines in football that like to run the ball and have a good defense. Should have been a pretty freaking easy click. But hey, we're human. I can admit when I was wrong, and that was definitely the guy I was most wrong about last year, along with Henry. But I think it was easier. I think it was, let me see, how do I want to say it? The case against Derrick Henry, especially with his age and everything, he doesn't catch passes. I think you can make an easier case why you should have been out on him last year versus Barkley. Hmm. Well, I said I might like some of the running backs, but it didn't quite work out that way. So we're gonna go with Wilson. And we're gonna pull our boy Lamar up a little bit because I want as much Lamar as I can get this year. And I definitely like having firepower at the QB position in eliminators. But anyways, going back to the Barkley thing, he is probably the main reason why I really analyzed where I went wrong last year, and more so than just the player take of being out on Barkley. I realized that like I did all this work, leading up to when I started drafting my teams last year, and kind of, made my decisions as far as like what teams I wanted to be in on, what teams I wanted to be out on, what rookies I was into. But I don't think I did that great a job last year of, as the summer went on, being open to changing my mind about my initial stances on guys. Sure, if the obvious ones, when camp news comes out or an injury or a guy just is kind of coming out of nowhere in camp that you didn't expect to be a major part of the team. Yeah, those type of things. I did change some on certain players. And so this year I'm just really doing my homework as the summer goes on a weekly basis of hey, is this guy a guy I want to be in on? Is this guy a guy I want to be out on? Why is it that I'm out on him? Blah, blah, blah. Mark says Wilson is his highest exposure receiver. He's up there for me. You told me how much you had of him the other day, and it's not quite that high, but I do have me a decent amount. Worried about Burrow's health, didn't have enough chase. All we can do is try to learn from our mistakes, try to be better, right? All right, finally we can get some running backs possibly here that we like. At least one of them for sure. We're going to grab Mixon. Should be able to get a second one, hopefully, after it flips around. And then we'll be sitting okay with a 1-2-2. Jefferson and Wilson holding down the receiver room. We have Lamar at quarterback, so we know we can get some really good points from him, hopefully, most weeks. We're either going to go Hampton if this guy doesn't take him, which he didn't. Tempted to go Flowers with Lamar, but in an eliminator, we're not as worried about stacking. And I think getting a second running back who I like is a little bit more important than getting Flowers for the stack. If it wasn't an eliminator, I probably would have been more likely to take a third receiver and get the stacked player with Lamar. What's up, my man? I didn't recognize you in there, but glad you found the stream. We appreciate you being here. Hit the like if you haven't. If you're not subbed already, feel free to do so. We are the Nightcap, and we draft best ball teams 6 nights a week, normally starting around 10 p.m. Central Time. Let's go see what spot you're in. Oh, you're right there in the 2 hole. So I do have some friendly fire over here battling on my side of the board. Bijan, Chase, Allen, Sutton, and Worthy. Gerard, is that what you go by? Anyways, glad to have you in here, my man. Sorry I missed you earlier. I'm trying to catch up on some of the chat as we go now. Guess I can move that back down for you guys. I'm going to try to get some guests in maybe towards the end of the week for you guys also. I don't have anything lined up yet as I was out of town all week last week, and like we talked about, it was a pretty busy week. I reached out to a couple people tonight though. Once I got back, we'll try to get us some guests lined up for later this week. Ridley from last year or Ridley? Oh, Ridley from this year. You're saying he's your highest exposure. I got you. I got you. In all of the regular style tournaments, let's see. What is my exposure at receiver? Oh, we can look at we can look at them later after this draft. What do we want to do? We got Lamar. We got us a couple running backs. I don't know if I want to do that. What are the buys? 6 and 12. Let's get us some Judkins. I can't stop drafting Judkins either. He could be a guy that really helps make my season this year, unless something changes my opinion about him. If he moves up in price or something, I mean, I kind of like drafting Judkins more than Hampton. I got to be honest. I mean, he's going what 30 picks later. Yes, I know Hampton overall is on a better team. Hold on, let's see what we want to do here. I like making sure I have plenty of early season firepower. So let's go ahead and get Robinson too. I'm liking that running back room. Mixon, Hampton, Judkins, Robinson, all guys that, four guys that should be involved if they aren't the full starter for their team. The only one I'm worried about not being the starter is if early, they technically roll Najee's old slow self out there first. I guess he's not that old, but he runs like he's old. But I like that running back room. We can start catching up at receiver and tight end. We're not super worried about our second quarterback because we have Lamar. Even in an eliminator, I'm generally, especially with Lamar, I'm always going to keep it two QBs and just make sure the second is a guy we really like. I just feel that's the way to go with Lamar. He's pretty dang consistent. Tyreek Hill is my highest drafted receiver in regular style tournaments. Interesting. I did not know that about myself. It had been up until a couple of days ago, Jaden Higgins from the Texans, followed by Keenan Allen. But Hill has jumped over those two slightly at 25%. Garrett Wilson, I have 17% of. I think I have a decent amount of Calvin Ridley too. I want to. I'm in on Ridley this year. Maybe it's more so in the eliminators that I have him. Let me see. Where's he at? I have 9% Ridley, so I need more Ridley in my life. We got to make a point to start getting more of him. All right, let's see. What do we want to do here? Pick 94. We don't want to do that. Probably want to get back in receiver here. Bye week standpoint, Pittman makes a lot of sense. Let's go Pittman. Nice little third receiver. Let me see. When it gets back to me, it'll be at 118. So we could do that now and just do it early. We could take us one more running back and be done with it. But we don't really want to do that. I just told y'all he's one of my highest drafted receivers. Higgins is another guy. We need to go make us a my guy thing for my boy Higgins because I can't quit drafting him. I don't know. I think the Texans are going to throw a little more this year. Bobby Slowick was so run first mentality to the point that like everybody knew we were just going to run on first downs. And one thing we can try to do right this time of year is what is the team telling us without telling us? Well, they went out and they brought Kirk in first, and then they turned around and used two of their first three picks on wide receivers. Kind of seems like a team that wants to throw the ball around more than maybe they did the last couple of years. You got a quarterback that can definitely do it. And I just think, Nico's obviously going to take most of, rightfully so, the attention of the defense. So I can see a lot of games where, Higgins has some really, really nice spike weeks. One of my favorite things to do, actually, even without CJ, because where they go late in the draft, is draft Higgins and Kirk for just, a Houston stack without the quarterback. And my reasoning behind that is I feel like in most games this year, there are going to be two Texan receivers who have nice to very good weeks. Nico is more than likely going to be one of those two whenever he's healthy. So for as late as they go in the draft, a lot of times I'm willing to take Higgins and Kirk and just say, all right, well, I'm using two picks. One of them's in the ninth round. Kirk goes later than Higgins. So I'm using two picks to essentially lock down one really good Texan score or one usable Texan score each week. Because I think those two will kind of ping pong, which one it is, whether that particular defense they're going against is giving up more to the slot versus the other outside guy. We need a tight end still. And we have Lamar. So we'll go ahead and do the Andrews thing. We don't go out of our way in eliminators to stack. I was talking with someone about this a week or so ago. And when I draft eliminators, I try to really balance just taking the best player, but also trying to get, some skinny stacks, one pass catcher with my quarterback type thing teams. Because at the end of the day, especially the further and further we go in this thing, I think we're going to take JJ since we have a JJ for the JJ connection. And that gives us our little skinny stack with McCarthy and JJ. And then we have Lamar with Andrews. Who knows? Maybe I'll throw D Hop on too. Because my thing is, and this goes back to changing my mind as the summer goes. Like when the Eliminator first started, my first few Eliminator teams, I remembered thinking, well, I want to approach this, almost like a cash game, I think, in DFS, where I'm just taking the absolute very best player with each pick. I'm not going to worry about stacking because I'm not trying to beat hundreds of people. I'm just trying to get out of week one and then win the head to head each week. But the more I really dove into just the structure of the tournament, it's a lot harder than a lot of people think or realize. I mean, by the time we go to week 3, we're only looking at 25% of the original entries still left in the tournament going into week 3. You know, the next week, cut that in half again. That's why you start making money in week 4, or that's why you win your money back in week 4, because you're already down to 14, or no, I guess what would it be, like about 12.5% of teams left. And so I think to have a team go far in the eliminator, it's going to need to be correlated a little bit. I'm starting to think you're going to need a team where, maybe you have 3 quarterbacks and they're all skinny stacked, or maybe you have Lamar and you have Lamar doubled, or Allen. Well, Allen doesn't really have a pass catcher that sticks out to us, but maybe you have a Daniels and McLaurin, and then you have maybe like Purdy with a pass catcher. You're gonna need to get really lucky and have your team set up to where you get a couple nice running back scores each week, but then in the passing game, your quarterbacks, unless you have like a Daniels or a Lamar who can just get you there every week, in which case they're going to be bringing along some pass catchers. Then you're going to have if you have a team where it's like Herbert, CJ, and Bryce Young or something like that, you're going to want those guys stacked, I think. Let's see what we want to do here real quick. How is week 14 in my receiver room? I do not have any 14s, so we are going to go with old man Thielen. Hope that age doesn't catch up with them for a little bit at least. But I've moved away after a couple weeks of drafting eliminators. I started kind of changing how I was building these teams, and I started building them more with stacking when I can, but still taking the best picks. I think we're gonna go Ferguson here. We have 4 running backs. Might just let the clock run out on it. Oh, I know what I need to do. Let me hop over here and do something real quick. I forgot to. What do you guys think, though? How are you drafting your eliminator teams? Are you still stacking a whole lot? Are you making stacking a priority? Are you doing maybe more like me where you're just trying to take the player with each pick that you think is the best pick, and then if they so happen to stack, great. I like Noel a lot too. As a guy my Texans drafted, the only thing I worry about with him, and I guess we'll know more once camp starts, is I think, especially in 2 wide receiver sets, it's going to be Nico and Higgins. They drafted him, I think, to be more of that outside guy opposite Nico, whereas I think they probably drafted Noel to be more of the slot guy. And so if Kirk is healthy, I think if all their receivers are healthy, Noel has a hard time getting on the field. I could be wrong. I will let you guys know if I hear any camp news once it starts up. Let's see. We got 2 tight ends now. It's not really a whole lot that we like right here. We could just go ahead and take a 3rd tight end, which I think we're going to do. Strange is a guy I've been wanting to get more of, but I think I'm going to switch it if I have time and go Ertz. Yeah, I like that better. Ertz, Ferguson, and Mark Andrews. I'm okay with this team having 3 tight ends because with Lamar, I'm going to keep it at 2 quarterbacks. I do in the eliminator tend to like to either. Hold on, let me look at something real quick and then we'll get back to that conversation. 171. There's no receivers we love here. I'm not afraid to reach around. I don't have near as much get-ins in the eliminator as I do in regular drafts. but we still like him. I'm into JT and Giddens this year. I don't draft them on the same team because I don't really do handcuffs that much. The teams I draft, it's almost my hedge both ways because I just with Daniel Jones, I'm assuming Daniel Jones starts the year and hopefully he's good enough to keep the team competitive. And there is a very strong chance that AR is just done. I guess if Daniel Jones is playing bad, then they could go back to AR if his shoulder's okay. But I really am into JT a lot this year, and I'm really into Giddens. JT because when he's healthy, they're definitely going to try to be a run first team, and he's really good at football still. He's still young. He's not old. Daniel Jones is used to dumping off to the running backs, and JT can catch a little bit. But then JT also misses games almost every year of his career, and I was super high on Giddens as a prospect. So it almost seems like about three-fourths of my teams either end up with Giddens or JT on it, one of the two. If I have JT, I don't draft Giddens. Any team that I don't have JT on, Giddens is always an option for me late. Yeah, I would be more worried about Kirk if it was a leg injury. I forget exactly what his injury last year was, but it was more of arm, shoulder, upper body. It was something with his upper body. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, I follow a couple guys on X who follow the Texans super close, and they're kind of they're not the official beat writers, but they have. I don't really watch much of their YouTube stuff. They have YouTube channels, but they're always tweeting like what they see at practice and stuff like that too. It's getting close to that time, guys. We are almost there. We are almost there. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. We were just talking about how we might take D Hop on this team because we want Lamar killing it, carrying the team. We got him double stacked with Hopkins and Andrews. We got JJ stacked with McCarthy. Two picks left. We'll probably end up taking one more receiver. And maybe one more running back. I can't see me really drafting another quarterback, to be honest with you. Mm. Here's another example of my weekly evaluations paying off and part of what I'm enjoying the most about streaming best ball this year. So I started off the year kind of out on any of the KC running backs. I don't draft Hunt because he's old and just think he's pretty much done or not a guy I want to draft at least. I do not draft Pacheco because I am really concerned, at least early on in the year, about how he will be coming off of that injury. It's the same injury Pollard had. We all know the spill. I've said it many times. It was actually during my 6-hour stream. I don't remember if it's the one that me and Cody and Hartman did together or if it was the one that just me and Cody from Off the Snide did, just us two. but he is super in on Bashard Smith to the point that I believe he said he was like his highest drafted running back, and he takes him in almost kind of like Mike Giddens. Like he's always on his radar late in drafts. And so it was actually at the airport getting ready to fly out of town that later that weekend. I went back and was doing a lot of work on Smith because he wasn't really super on my radar going into the draft and after the draft. But it's like I started thinking, and I hate all the other running backs there. And Andy Reid is just that type of guy that, like, if Smith comes in and he looks like the best back, he definitely has some really nice pass catching abilities. Let me make this last pick and then I'll finish it up. I'm gonna go with Tyler Lockett as a last receiver. I think he is one of those classic eliminator ass pick guys. That finishes it up for us. 2-6-7-3. Lamar JJ, running back room of Mixon, Hampton, Judkins, Brian Robinson, Giddens, and Smith. JJ Wilson, Pittman, Higgins, Adam Thielen, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Lockett. Tight end room of Mark Andrews, Jake Ferguson, and Zach Ertz. We're feeling really good about that team. Let's look over. We had a bunch of friends in here. Gerard, I hope that's what you like to go by, my man. If not, tell me in the chat what you like to go by. He has a 3582. Josh Allen, Bo Nix, Russell Wilson, Brian Robinson. I mean, not Brian Robinson. Sorry, Bijan, Chase Brown, Caleb Johnson, Rico Dowdle, Braylon Allen. Nothing wrong with the running back room that starts off Bijan, that's for sure. I like Brown. It's good enough. Bijan should definitely carry it. Cortland Sutton, Xavier Worthy, Rome, Rashid Shaheed, Xavier Leggett. Xavier Leggett is one of my highest drafted receivers. I know a lot of people is out on him this year, but we can talk more about him later, though. Cedric Tillman, De'Ami Brown, Darius Slayton. That's another classic eliminator ass pick. Tucker Kraft, Tyler Warren in the tight end room. See, that's how I normally do it. My teams generally end up either two quarterbacks, two tight ends, or one of them will have three and the other one will have two. I very rarely draft eliminator teams with three at both. Overall, I think it's a pretty nice team. If Caleb's the guy, if Caleb steps in and takes the Najee role, then I think you're good at running back. I mean, Bijan's going to carry the team. I guess the only thing I would be concerned about with your running back room is if this particular team is in it week 5, it's going to be really tough if the starters, if Brees Hall and Chuba are healthy in Carolina and New York, then it's going to be really hard in week 5 to get a good score from that second running back spot, assuming Chase gives you, a good score. Is going to be really hard. You could get lucky though. One of the guys could be hurt or whatever. Maybe just the way the game flow went, one of those two gets in there, gets in the end zone, and gives you a usable score. You only have one wide receiver on a bye that week, so you should be able to easily cover your flex. I like it. That would be the only thing. If this was me, I probably, to be honest with you, the one thing I maybe would have done differently and I think could have helped the team a lot was instead of the Garrett Wilson pick, I mean, not Garrett Wilson, I'm sorry, I'm messing up names tonight. Instead of Russ, maybe with that pick, grabbed you a 6th running back and kind of just made sure that they didn't have that week 5 bye to at least give you one more option there, because how much is Russ really going to help a team with Bo Nix and Josh Allen anyways? Probably not that much. Probably doesn't hit your lineup in the first 6 weeks of the season until Josh Allen's bye week. And to get to Josh Allen's bye week, you have to get past that week 5, which is going to be a little tough in the running back room. It could happen though. Overall, I like the team. That's the one thing I think would have, in my opinion, made it a little better instead of Russ just taking a 6 running back. Who else did we have in here? I know my boy Mark was in here. A 4-5-6-3. 4 quarterbacks? You don't see that too often. Let's see. Who were they? Baker, Drake, CJ, and Tua. Okay. Bucky, Connor, Eckler, Ford, Mostert. Mostert's going undrafted a lot too. Nico Evans, DK Metcalf, Debo Samuel. Debo is your 4th receiver. That's kind of nice. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Jonnu Henry, and Jawan Johnson. Hold on, I hit the wrong button. It'll pop back up. And then it kicked me out of it. Let's go back into it though. We're not finished digging through this one. View full draft. So Mark went with the 4 quarterback team. He's got Nico as a stack, Evans as a stack, Diggs as a stack. A lot of nice correlation. Even got Jonnu with Tua. Drake is the only one that you have double stacked. I like that team, Mark. I do. I don't know if I would have went 4 QBs with the Tua pick. But you're still good enough at running back. I mean, you got Bucky, you got Connor. Eckler's a backup, but he's one of the backups that can have usable weeks even without the starter getting hurt. Kind of the same as our friend in the 2-hole. I think I would have personally not taken Tua. Between Baker, Drake, and CJ, I think you get nice scores. But I'm not saying it can't work. And I definitely think you constructed it well. You got a lot of nice correlation, but not too much correlation considering it is an eliminator. Nice team. Let's see who else we got. David 3582, Trevor Lawrence, Phoenix, Sam Darnold. All right, David, I'm gonna start thinking you actually like Sam Darnold. Genty, Kyron, running back spot. That's a nice running back room for an eliminator. Genty, Kyron, and Pollard, all starters. Ramondre, if nothing else, has good early season production. Your first 2 are on buys week 8, but again, you have Pollard and Ramondre. Should be able to get usable weeks out of those 2 still in week 8. Maybe even Taj Brooks. Drake London, Adams, Hunter, Golden, Mooney, Coleman, Palmer, and Douglas in the receiver room. That's a nice receiver room. I like that. Got some correlation there. London's a stack. Hunter's a stack. Mooney's a stack. I actually have the double Atlanta thing. Gesicki and Elijah Arroyo just really punting off tight ends. A lot of people do that. I know Hartman or no, that's super flex. Hartman will super punt tight ends in super flex. That's a nice team though, man. I like it a lot. I'm assuming again, like in the other draft, you probably went Darnold just because you were getting boxed out and wanted a 3rd quarterback. Trevor Lawrence and Michael Penix is probably the type of guys I would maybe want a 3rd quarterback with too. Running back room is super strong. Wide receiver room is super strong. Hopefully you get tight end points. There could be some weeks that your tight end score is really low, but if you're gonna punt a position, I agree tight end is the one to do it. I mean, unless you have a Bowers or Kittle or McBride, Hawkinson, Andrews, guys we think of as top tight ends, then if you're doing a team and you're taking 3 tight ends, let's even say from the Hunter Henry range on, there's a very likely chance that a lot of weeks those teams score at tight end isn't much better, if better at all, than even a room like Gesicki and Arroyo. It's just tight ends are real touchdown dependent, especially those later tight ends like that. I like it though. Let's move on. I tell you what, we are going to, it was recommended, David, if you're still around and you want to hop in, I think we will go ahead and do that. $5 if any of you guys have it. The single entry. Let me find it. I will count down once I enter like I always do. It's the Corgi. Is that how you say that dog's name? 20-second draft in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This one has a 1 out of 10. 6 spots left, 5 spots left now. So there's plenty of room to get in there. I'm going to go to the other page real quick and look at the advance rates on it. I forget what they are. 1 out of 10, 1 out of 5, 75 seat final. Making $250 if you make the finals, and it's not a bad structure. 1 out of 10, and then if you make the third round, just 1 out of 5. Sounds good to me. We are waiting on 5 more people. I'm going to try to catch up on the chat a little bit. Let's see. I think I left off about right in here. Gerardo says, what do I think about the 6th spot? The 6th spot for me, we'll look at it over here, assuming it kind of goes ADP. I kind of just mix it up. Actually, before I do that, let me flip back over here real quick and get my best ball overlay to flip back to if I refresh it, will that do it? Sometimes that best ball overlay is tricky to get to show the right tournament. It's still showing eliminator. I think once it starts, it should flip over for me. Generally, for me, though, in the 6th spot, it's either Puka or Gibbs if one of those two guys are there. These are still showing my eliminator percentages right now, I believe. Yes, because we just drafted one of those. So CMC, I haven't really been drafting a lot lately. I was drafting him. I got 12% in the eliminator. Early in the eliminators, when he was going more at the 1-2 turn, I was taking him a fair amount. I haven't really been drafting him a lot in any formats since he moved up. I would probably be more likely to draft CMC, I think, where you have to take him now around that 6, 7, 8 spot in an eliminator than I would a regular style tournament, just because I am kind of worried a little bit about his health and how he'll hold up this year. For me, it's kind of a tie for the Gibbs and Puka. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that Gibbs is technically the 6th player ADP wise. Those two are kind of a tie for me. It just kind of honestly depends who I'm in the mood for. If I Sometimes I click Gibbs, sometimes I click Puka. I kind of have those two right at the same ranking for the most part. After him, after those two, I would say for me it's probably Neighbors. I don't really take a lot of Genty. I don't really take a lot of Amon this year. After Neighbors, that's when I would take CMC. But it just seems like here lately, CMC's going before Neighbors a lot. And then after Neighbors, most of the time I'm taking Nico. Although I need to maybe start up. I've always taken Nico over Brian Thomas just because of how their ADP is. If you're taking Nico, you're probably at like the 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And there's more of a chance to get Brian Thomas in the second round than there is to get Nico in the second round. So that's why I kind of take him over Brian Thomas, I think. Still waiting on 5. But as far as just the 6th spot, it'd either be Puka or Gibbs for me. Yes, Kirk is often injured, so that's where Noel could definitely be a good pick. I have a decent amount of him. Let's see, how much Noel do I have? It's not like I'm not drafting him. In regular style tournaments, I have 7% of him, so pretty much right at the field. Not really super in or super out on him. David was at the 12. Punt the tight end build. Yes, you did. I liked it though. I don't normally draft 4 quarterbacks, but for an eliminator, I should have good points from the position every week. Just need my starting running backs to stay healthy. Yeah, I agree with that. It could definitely work. I mean, having Baker as your first guy is not as it's not as bad as if you had like an elite quarterback and then did like 4 or something like that. So it could definitely work. Darnold is the last one on my list. I hear you. I hear you. Not taking any Rodgers. I would take Rodgers over Darnold, but that's just me. I also take some Danny Dimes. I actually like Jones because I don't know. I'm just kind of, at least until we get in camp and I hear otherwise, I'm just assuming that is kind of going to be Jones's team to lose now. I mean, AR's shoulders messed up, same one that was messed up from last year. The coaches were already like kind of, again, listen to what the coaches are telling us and the team's telling us, right? And the fact that they went out of their way several times, the coach and the GM, to say that like whoever is the most consistent is probably going to win the job. That's kind of like massaging everybody that, hey, like we're probably going to have to move on from AR because that is not describing AR in any way, shape, or form. I think if they really wanted, if they really didn't want it, if they really wanted AR to try to take the job before the shoulder injury, I just think there was other ways they could have worded it. They could have simply said, we're going to go with the guy that we think gives us the best chance to win. But they chose to use the wording in several interviews of whoever is the most consistent. And I just find that kind of interesting. I'm starting to feel like there's a strong case of group think setting in about now. I'm going Oppo a lot of the consensus thoughts right now. I like that, my man. It goes back to every time I'm with Cody or Cody's on my stream, I always point out his saying, if you're not afraid to be wrong, you will never be right. I'm definitely the same way myself. I just talked about how Leggett is one of my highest drafted guys. And I hear a lot of people when I tell them that, like other streamers and some stuff when they're on my channel and they're kind of interested to them, they're like, oh, wow, really? Like, Yeah, I don't know. Like I liked him as a prospect last year. He was bad last year. I'll admit that. I mean, it's pretty clear to see. But he had the draft capital that I think they're going to roll him out there this year, and he's going to get another chance this year. And I think Ted takes a lot of pressure off of him. And yes, that that's kind of what I was talking about when I was talking about the other streamers and stuff, the bigger streamers, the Davis Maddox, Pete Overzets of the world and stuff. And that's when I was talking about. I think one thing I've always liked about Liam is he's he's more than the rest of them, not afraid to just kind of be out on his own and think kind of his own thing. Sorry about that, my man. I just saw that, and David had brought it up, and I needed to get this single entry one in. Anyways, we'll definitely every night this week. I'm definitely going to be drafting a lot of pit bulls, though, because that's a tournament that I want to max. And tonight was my first one. I didn't draft any of them while I was on vacation last week. I was trying to get in as many poodles as I could because I knew that thing was going to fill. But yeah. So 10 o'clock Central Time every night except Saturday. We'll be on here and we'll probably do at least one pit bull every night. We are in a 20-second to single entry corgi tournament. Someone had recommended it. We still hadn't did it yet, so we jumped in it. Thank you. David took it up for me. Mark agrees that AR is cooked. AR will start most of the season. Daniel Jones is hot garbage. I don't agree with that, but hey, that's the beauty of this, right? I say it all the time. The best ball players in the world are wrong about a lot. We got the 101 in the single entry. Hot diggity dog. Chase is always the one for me. I want as much chase as I can, and you have to take him at one in order to get him. We only have 5% of him. That might be closer to 6%. I have a handful of slow drafts going on. Speaking of which, I'll do it on a different tab, but I need to make sure I don't have any that's about to run out of time. Oh no, that's a corgi. I got a sprint that has an hour on it, so let me just get somebody start on this bad boy. I can do it in between my picks though. Oh, why is it being so glitchy? Here, I won't slow it down for you guys. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm on a different tab here too, I got a slow draft that I'm on the clock on, and it only says an hour, so I don't want it to go away on me. Why is it being glitchy like that? All right, whatever. I'll go back to it in a minute. Let's see who all ended up in here with us. David is in here with us. And that is all that I recognize. But if you are in here, let me know. I'm still trying to learn everybody's names. We left a comment up. Might also be trying to send AR a message that they want him to become more consistent. Danny was left for dust last year. Yeah, I agree. I probably, I was actually thinking about it the other night because since the AR news came out, I have been drafting a decent amount of Daniel Jones because it's like I kind of like Pittman and I kind of like Downs, and so I kind of try to talk myself into, well, Daniel Jones is going to be the quarterback now, so I should be taking more of those guys since I do kind of like them as receivers. But we don't really know, and I don't want to end up with a huge bag. And I will say that any team I have Daniel Jones on, he's always my third quarterback on a team where I went like, let's say, Fields and CJ, and then I threw Daniel Jones on there because I had either Pittman or Downs. So I can live with that. 50% completions ain't gonna get it done. Nope. His legs can get it done, but every dang time he runs, he gets hurt. So that's the only downside to that. Not, not if he has to tap out because he's tired. That's funny. That's a good one. I forgot about that. I totally forgot about that. 133 total drafts in, 11% A Rich, 5% Daniel Jones. I was drafting Anthony Richardson to start the year. Again, kind of like Jones as a third quarterback or a quarterback with rushing upside before the shoulder news came out. I can't draft him anymore right now. I can't. Let's see what we want to do at the turn. Rice is another guy, going back to somebody was just talking about going against the group think. I can't get there on Rice. Y'all see 1.7%. I was drafting him a little bit here and there. We're gonna go T. Higgins and see if we can't get that nice value on Burrow if nobody wants to draft Burrow. Y'all don't want Burrow unstacked. So y'all just let me get him at the 6-7 turn. Thank you. That would be nice. If not, we also have Wilson, so we'll just take Fields. It's a single entry though. Let's go for it. I can't get there on Rice, and he's a guy that I'm not afraid. Like I was drafting him some when he was like more right in here. Like, you could get him for a while anywhere from pick 30 to 28, 30. Sometimes he'd be at 32 even earlier in the year. And that's when I took him some. But like, I don't know. I'm not taking him over Hill. Me personally, I'm not taking him over Wilson. Probably not taking him over Higgins, not taking him over JT. And this is actually late for him right here in the third round. He normally doesn't go in the third round anymore. Most of the time, the last week or so, it seems like if you're gonna take him, you got to take him right there, late second round. But I can't get there on him. I just can't. You know what? This is the third draft. Let's get some little music going in the background. That's what we need. To feel if you fell and I barely have any exposure on Rice. I agree with you on Rice. The better current ADP quite a bit overvalued. David doesn't take him that much either. And you know where you took him at here in the third round, David. That's not bad. I mean, like I said, that's when the 1.7% I have of him, it was probably anywhere from say pick 28 to 30, somewhere in that earlier in the year. Well, I know there's been one or two It might even have been BBMs that I streamed with somebody else because I know a lot of people are super in on him. I think me and Best Ball Guy was like the third person that came on my channel. And I think me and him had a Rice team. But that was probably a month ago now or so when you could get him more like in the third round. I like that Bijan JT start though. Actually, I was hoping JT was going to come to the turn. I really wanted to go with Chase and JT and then either Higgins or Wilson, whichever one was there. But he was gone. So we just went Higgins and Wilson. I agree with that. I do not take. I don't think I'm too high on Worthy either. I will say I have more Worthy than Rice. I'm right at the field, 8% on Worthy. I don't see me getting way over that. If anything, probably under that because there's starting to be other guys I just really like in that area too. Where Worthy goes, that is. I like Pickens, but I don't want another week 9 receiver. We're going to go Hampton. I know that. I'm going to go Hampton and Flowers. Y'all know how I feel about my Ravens. They're just going to be on a mission, I think, this year. Worthy ahead of Devontae is almost criminal. That's right. Yell at him, my man. Let him know. Let's see. Where do I draft Worthy at? I kind of have J-Mo and Worthy. I like where Worthy's at, honestly. Like, I take Flowers myself, or I like Flowers better than Worthy. And that's probably why I haven't been drafting Worthy early. I mean, I haven't been drafting him like lately, is what I meant to say. I feel like I'm just probably why I do have 8% of him is because in the middle of the fourth right there, there's just not a lot I do like. Like, I'm not super into Metcalf. I do love Lamar. I like a lot of the guys in the front part of the fourth, and I like a lot of the guys in the back half. I like Hampton. I like Flowers. I like Kittle. Sorry about that. I don't draft Jalen in the fourth. A lot of times you can get him early fifth. I guess maybe one thing I need to do is since I'm not just personally super in on Worthy, and probably maybe I could just start reaching up and getting guys that I like more, like Hampton. I'm not super in on Smith this year myself. He's another guy I'm really low on. I don't know. I don't think they're going to have a reason to all of a sudden get pass happy. Their defense might not be quite as good as it was last year, but their defense is still going to be pretty good. He's a guy I probably should draft more of, though, come to think of it, because I am probably overall really low on him. And he's not a guy that I want to be totally out on. He's not a guy I want to be like super overweight on. Let's see, how much of Smith do I have right now? Yeah, see, I only have 4% Smith right now. We do need to up that a little. We don't want to be that out on him. We got time though. It's just about to be July. Yeah, I like JMO. I was just talking with, I think it was Mark the other day. I don't think Mark's too into JMO this year. But I think he could be in for a big year. I like drafting him more than I like drafting Amon for some reason this year. That's for sure. Obviously, at cost, like I'm not saying draft JMO at the 1-2 turn or whatever. All right. Somebody did the Burrow unstacked thing, so we won't get the discount on him this time, but that's okay. We can still just eat all those receiver points. Put us some other quarterbacks. With it. We need another running back here. Guess we could just. No, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do real quick with this second pick. I'm going to reach down a little bit and get Jaden Reed. It's kind of a little bring back to Flowers. Opens me up for another quarterback that I like. Since Burrow didn't come back, just gives us a little more options to play with. Got the two rookie running back connection with Hampton and Judkins. I've done that a few times this year on teams where I don't get an early round running back. I feel like even though they're rookies, a lot of times, with rookies, we end up, they're guys that are clear backups or something, and we're drafting them because they could be an electric late season upside if, they get on the field due to injury or whatnot, like a Giddens play. But with these two, like, even if Najee is technically the starter, Hampton's going to be out there, and it's not going to take him long, I don't think, to take over the lead role there. I've talked about before, I see Judkins being a smash from day one, honestly. Like, whoever Cleveland's quarterback is should be pretty decent because between the two rookies and Flacco, they have enough there that, like, whoever earns the job probably is playing pretty decently. Their defense is still pretty dang good. And the only way that they have to be somewhat competitive is to run the ball. Their coach has always kind of had a pretty decent run scheme. So with those two rookies in particular, I'm okay starting my running back room off that way. I think Pickens is ass compared to JMO. Awareness and attitude are terrible, and he doesn't have the same drive as JMO to improve and be truly exceptional. That's fair. That's an honest take, and I kind of like it. I draft Pickens. I guess I'm kind of like I guess I'm kind of thinking that like maybe going to a change of scenery and a different team and seems to be happier, has an actual quarterback who's not old. I don't know. He seemed happy. If you listen to him talk right after the trade, he seemed pretty happy about it. I don't go out of my way to get Pickens. Pickens definitely isn't like a smash to me. I'm a big push to quarterback guy, so most of the time when I take Pickens, it's on a team where I went Lamb, where I drafted Lamb. Lamb is one of my favorite. For me personally, it's right now at least. It changes. It wasn't this way 3 weeks ago, but right now it's kind of Chase 1, JJ 2, and then it's kind of just like I was talking earlier, Puka and Gibbs around the 6th spot is kind of a tie for me. It's Bijan and Lamb. Kind of whichever one I'm lower on at the time in that format is who I tend to take because I want a good amount of both of those guys. Probably going to do that. We'll let Fields ride for a second because we know we want him. We're going to go Fields. We're going to go Warren. You guys tell me in the chat, are y'all Warren or Caleb Johnson? I can't get there on Caleb Johnson. I think if I try to ask myself who is Rodgers, let's face it, Rodgers is going to have a lot of say-so with that team. You don't bring Aaron Rodgers in for his final season and then try to be Arthur Smith. You're going to do it my way type mentality. Like, I'm not saying they're going to change their whole offensive philosophy or anything, but Rodgers is going to have a lot of say. Rodgers isn't moving anywhere and isn't wanting to take a lot of sacks. So I think Warren will be in there a lot more than people are thinking. And I just don't like, I don't like Caleb Johnson as a prospect, honestly. I have some major concerns about Caleb Johnson. And I like Warren on a team like this because since I did take the 2 rookies, and because I feel like Warren is going to be on the field a lot for Pittsburgh, especially early, then that kind of helps balance out the room a little bit. If say Hampton starts a little slower than I think he will. We got Fields to go with Wilson. We kind of said that was plan B if we couldn't get Burrow to come back to the 6-7 turn. Jaylen Warren is a pretty good pass blocker. Iowa ran the ball so dang much. There's not a ton of that I've seen as far as Caleb in passing situations, but historically Rodgers has always been kind of iffy on rookies, whether it be receivers or running backs. So I think Warren has that going for him. Warren, for his size, is pretty decent and willing pass blocker, and he's definitely the better, I think, receiver of the two. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I started to say it a minute ago, but then I think I got off topic like I sometimes do. Sorry about that. But most of the time when I take Pickens, it's because I have Lamb already, and I take Pickens, and then I try to push Dak a little bit past ADP for a nice little discounted double stack. Most of the time when I take him, that's why. Pickens is a nutcase, Mark. Thanks. I've got a lot of Warren, but I've been clicking other players around lately. I don't have much Caleb though. Change of scenery. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes a change of scenery will help guys. Guys just being happy, feeling like they're wanted. Interesting. I've Tolbert is a guy that burned me last year. And so with Pickens there, I just can't go down that road again. I can't do it. I had a lot of Tolbert last year. It didn't turn out too well. He was cheap though. It doesn't hurt you to be wrong about later round guys like that near as much as it does. Obviously, the higher up that they're being drafted, the more it's going to hurt you, of course. Let's see. We got 3 running backs right now. We don't have any tight ends. No, 120. Can't do that. I don't think they're coming back to me. So we're just going to double tap quarterback. This is a team I think I want 3 quarterbacks with. Justin Fields does tend to get banged up and miss some games here and there. I'm super high on him. I mean, he's one of my highest drafted players. I have 34% of him. I do generally when I draft Fields, he's my first quarterback, and so I do tend to go 3 quarterbacks on those builds. That's where a lot of my Daniel Jones honestly probably comes from, is because a lot of my teams will probably be like Fields and one of these caliber type guys, Love, CJ, or maybe a Drake May. And then, I waited a little while later to take my other one, but we had taken Reed earlier in the draft. And being that I'm in the one hole, sometimes you got to reach a little bit to get guys that you want. I did not think that Love would make it all the way back. Drake May is nice to have even unstacked. We could always throw Hunter on there later as a tight end. So we just went ahead and took both. I felt I was in an okay position with those 3 running backs. No bye week issues really or anything. Receiver room is pretty nice. We got the double Cincy guys, but then we also have Wilson and Flowers and Jaden Reed. Now we can just clearly be done at quarterback. See what comes around to us at the next turn and go from there. Taking Caleb and Warren about equal percent. And that's fine, that's what I love about best ball, honestly, is like or just in general, right? Like there's so many smart drafters out here nowadays. Everybody's doing the research. If you're drafting teams back in May or even now at the end of June, like you've done your homework, like you've researched guys. You're probably listening to a lot of streams and probably listening to a lot of other people who live, eat, breathe this stuff like we do. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that I don't think about best ball. Generally, when I lay down to go to sleep, I'm kind of thinking about best ball or how my drafts went that night or whatever, like but there's no right way, right? Like there's no like it has to be this structure or it has to be zero RB, hero RB, 4 or 5 RBs with different bye weeks, and they're all, you know, really good for hyper fragile or whatever it's called. There's no right way, right? Like, and so much of it is just luck, too. I mean, I always tell people it's a game of skill that you have to get really lucky at, because I don't think that you can draft best ball teams and not have a clue what you're doing and just go through picking players that you like with no kind of correlation and no kind of team correlation, especially, and get lucky enough to like win big. I don't believe that. But we're all really good, or the vast majority of best ball players these days are anywhere from probably good to really good drafters who actually have put in some time and thought and effort into their teams and how they want to draft them. Excuse me. And so, yeah, it's going to come down to the skill of it is knowing how to construct teams with correlation and proper, values, not drafting Lamar and Josh Allen and then also throwing a third quarterback or something on there crazy like that. All right, hold on. We got to make some picks here. We are on the clock. I'm going to click Garindo and just let him kind of ride. While I think about what we want to do for this next one. If I don't see anything better, we're going to go Ferguson. I think that's what we want to do. That's fine. The clock kind of snuck up on me, so I just went with a tight end and a running back that I liked, because those were positions I needed to get people at. But yeah, that's what I love about it is we all have like our own takes. We all have our own players that we're in on and players that we're out on. I mean, look at the Pat Kerrane from Legendary Upside. Like, the year that he won it, like, probably the luckiest of the years, right? It was unlucky for me. I was in a DK final that year with a Chase team, and Cincinnati and Buffalo didn't play week 17. They were going to do this big live stream thing, I remember, because Kerrane was in first place, but none of them at the time thought that he could hold it off, because there was like so many teams, within striking distance of him that had players in that game. And then the game gets called off. Like, had that game been played, he probably isn't the winner. That's a rare case, of course. But it's like we don't know. The NFL season is so chaotic. Injuries happen. Look at last year, and so I guess one thing I'm trying to do this year too is just think about some different ways I see this NFL season playing out, and not trying to think anything at all as far as how it relates to best ball from last year. And the reason I say that is because one of the biggest group thinks I think out there, somebody was talking about group thinks in the chat earlier, is what worked last year, right? But sometimes that can get us into trouble. Like 2 years ago, I had a super successful year, and the reason I did was because generally I do tend to be more of a hero or zero RB type guy. I just have, back then I played on DraftKings too, and it's full PPR. So yeah, give me as many really good, awesome receivers as I can get. And that year, zero RB was a really good strategy to have. A lot of running backs got hurt. A lot of later round running backs got boosted up because they got the starting jobs, but they were being drafted late. So then what happened last year it was even more over. Everybody was preaching zero RB, zero RB. The Spike Week dude Eric, like, I mean, he drafted probably every single team he drafted on stream was a zero RB team last year. I probably went honestly more zero RB than I should have, and not been more open to drafting different styles of teams or different types of builds. And then for the most part, all the running backs stay healthy. Some big name receivers get hurt. Some quarterbacks have down years. And the guys that were drafting heavy running backs, which were not that many, at least in the YouTube space in best ball, they had awesome years. David took my Hunter Henry pick. That's okay. Part of what we like about Drake May is I never feel like I have to be pressured to stack him with somebody. I think we're going to go Ertz. It's a tough little spot. I'm not really liking a lot here. It's a little bit of a reach. When I get to this point in the draft, though, once I'm to, like, say about now, the 14th, especially the 15th, 16th round, especially when you're on the turns and it's a while till it comes back to you, I am okay reaching and getting guys. I like Shipley. Of all the running backs on the board, him and Giddens are my favorite two. And I didn't think both of them was coming back. And I honestly kind of play them like if they're both there, whichever one I'm the lowest on at the time, I'll take, because I think both of them. I think I like Giddens maybe a little more just because we're trying to not predict injuries, but if we're going off of history, JT has missed a few games almost every year of his career. This could very well be the year that he's just healthy. No, it's all good, David. You don't have to apologize, my man. Never apologize. Although, don't let it happen again. If you have kids, especially girls the age of my daughters, you know all about some Dora the Explorer back in the day. I had to listen to that stupid cartoon more times than I care to admit. We're into the 16th round. Funny you mentioning zero RB. I've been going heavy zero RB for the past week or so. Probably continue until training camp starts. Very few people using it right now. I still use it some. Yeah. It was kind of crazy. It was crazy for me because I had Jamar Chase and Knox on a finals team in the big DK Millie Maker tournament. And it was a Monday night game. So for like 2 or 3 days, they didn't know what they were going to do. If they were going to replay just reschedule the game. Every day I kept waking up checking my phone. Is it getting played? Is it getting played? Oh well, what can you do? I jokingly say one day I will hopefully have some good karma when I'm in a finals to kind of make up for that. Giddens is my other favorite guy, and he came back, so that is an easy click right there for me. We can wait and grab a tight end, I think, with our very last pick. What could my receiver room use? Chase Higgins. I think I'm going to go De'Ami Brown with this pick. Not really a strong reasoning behind it. Most of you guys know I'm not super in on Hunter. I kind of feel like if Hunter isn't on the field quite as much as his ADP seems to say he'll be, then probably De'Ami Brown in the 17th round is a pretty good pick if Liam Cohen can really do the things we're thinking he can do with Trevor Lawrence, and Trevor Lawrence can finally take that next step. If he doesn't this year, then I think it's just over for him. And that leaves me with a little interesting spot. I guess we'll see what comes back, because with my last pick, running back, I'm good. I have 6 that I like: Hampton, Judkins, Warren, Garindo, Shipley, and Giddens. I actually got both of my favorite late round backups who I think, could be, if there was to be a, let's say, season ending injury or significant 6, 7, 8 game out injury late in the year to either Barkley or JT, I believe Shipley and Giddens will pay off tremendously. So I want to have as much of those 2 as I can. That is definitely a stand I'm willing to take and haven't changed my mind yet on. But Ferguson and Ertz are kind of right at that point where I would be okay just keeping it at 2 tight ends if need be. And I feel like having Chase and Higgins, Wilson, Flowers, Jaden, De'Ami Brown, all we're really hoping for is that we get maybe 1 or 2 really nice spike weeks out of him. So essentially, I only have 5 receivers that I feel really good about, and 2 of them play on the same team. So I may, if there's a receiver I like, Josh Reynolds could just end up being a guy you wish you had more of with the Jets. I haven't drafted him yet. Interesting that Underdog doesn't have him projected for anything at all. We may go with the 7th receiver on this team and just keep it at 2 tight ends. I think that will help this team more than a 3rd tight end. Then we'll call out our team, of course, call out David's team, and call it a night. Yeah, that's part of why I did it. What are your thoughts on Mostert? I've been taking him lately as my last running back. My thinking is Genty is going to get the ball a ton, but Mostert is a savvy veteran and electric with the ball in his hands. I don't think electric is the word that I would use at this point in his career. He 2 years ago, of course, like what he led the league in touchdowns or whatever it was. Hold on a second, we'll finish that talk. I'm gonna go Savion Williams. We have Love. We already had Reed. He doesn't show up because underdogs weird like that sometimes, but he's on there. We finished with a 3-6-7-2. Fields, May, and Love. Hold on, hit the wrong button. Running back room: Hampton, Judkins, Warren, Garindo, Shipley, and Giddens. I like that running back room. I like it a lot. Yes, I have 3 rookie running backs on the team. This was supposed to be possibly the best running back class in history, so we'll see. Chase, Higgins, Wilson, Flowers, Jaden Reed, Naomi Brown, and we just drafted Savion Williams as our last pick. Kept the tight ends at 2 in order to add that other receiver, Ferguson and Ertz at tight end. It's a single entry. Didn't really change my strategy much other than I probably honestly would have still did the Higgins and Chase thing on this particular team just because I thought that those were the 2 best players there, which leads me to something else after I answer Mark's question that we'll talk about at the closing. But first, let me go and find David's team before I forget to do that. 3-6-7-2. Justin Herbert, Bryce Young, Cam Ward. Like the QB room. Bijan, Taylor, Montgomery, Stevenson, Sampson, and Brooks. Hella strong running back room. Rashid White, Rashid Rice, J-Mo, Devontae Smith, Judy, Ayuk, Trey Harris, Kyle Williams, Hunter Henry, and Chig. That's a really nice team. It's a really nice team. J-Mo, Ayuk. You guys know me. I'm never one to just come out and say, like, oh, that's a bad team or anything like that, because we don't, like we've been talking about all night, we don't really know. What I will try to do sometimes is tell y'all, maybe take it for what it's worth. I am by no means saying I know it all, but just giving you my perspective. With a Taylor and Bijan team, I might have been more likely somewhere in here with either the Sampson or the Brooks pick to keep it at 5 running backs and maybe added an extra receiver. Not that I don't like your receivers. Yes, I am notoriously out on Rice, but I will be the first to admit that he is probably the guy that could be my Barkley this year and just make me totally regret it at the end of the year. So I'm not at all saying it's a bad pick. And you got him past ADP at a price where I think he's much more a better pick at 27 versus 21. But more so because, like, I really have concerns with Ayuk. I think he's going to start the season on the PUP list. I don't know how many games he's missed. I've been trying to ask, like, other streamers when I talk to them, sometimes, like on stream or backstage or whatever you want to call it. And I've gotten anything from some people thinking he only doesn't go on PUP, but maybe misses like the first couple games of the season, to the highest I've heard is one guy says he has him out for about 6 weeks. I think it'll be I think maybe more in the middle somewhere myself. But just so if you take him out and, like Harris could potentially be a rookie that starts slow. Kyle Williams maybe could start a little slow. I just think, that team could have really used like one of those old but reliable take your pick of guys you're into in the late rounds, like a D Hop or a Slayton or Michael Wilson from Arizona, Keenan Allen, because he's probably going to sign somewhere and then instantly be going 3 rounds or so ahead of where he's going now. But if you would have had, one more receiver like that somewhere in there, say in place of Sampson, your team would have been totally fine with the 5 running backs having Montgomery as your third and Ramondre as your fourth, behind Bijan and JT. Maybe cap it off with Brooks as your fifth. I don't know. It's a good team, though. I like the team. I see you tend to really be a 2 tight end punter. Nothing wrong with that. I say it all the time. If you're going to punt a position, tight end is definitely the spot to do it. I ended up doing that myself kind of this particular draft. Let me go find Mark's thing again. We will answer some of these questions and then we'll close out the night. Mark's question was on Mostert. I don't know. So he wasn't that good last year. Miami chose to move on from him. If Genty gets hurt, I think Mostert could be a really good pick in the late rounds, like most backup running backs are, because the guys behind him, the guys other than Mostert, we found out last year, are not good. So he would by default be their starting running back, and I think the offense will be a lot better this year under Chip Kelly. I do believe that. Geno is a way better quarterback than anything that they had last year. He's not a guy in the late rounds that I would want a lot of, but I can't say it's a bad pick either. I don't think he's usable unless there's an injury to Genty. But let's face it, a lot of the guys, let's go turn this off. A lot of the guys back there in that range are kind of that same way. Another thing I was going to talk about that there at the end of the draft, something made it stick out in my head. So I talked about how I'm kind of changing up how I reevaluate things. And it was the roster builds. So this year, another thing I'm doing way more than ever is really mixing up the style of teams that I do, whether it's like super heavy running back, super heavy RB, wide receiver, or just, what you would consider more of a balanced team. There's certain things I won't do. I don't draft 2 elite quarterbacks. I haven't drafted on a team where I have Bowers, another running back somewhat early. I have done a few teams where it was like maybe Kittle and Hockenson and just kept it at those two. I didn't hate that. But the one thing that I would say I'm dead set on this year, and now that I'm a couple hundred drafts in post NFL draft, I don't know how many teams I have, but between all the teams I did on DK before I switched over to Underdog, I'm probably over 200 drafts in so far, I would say. And the one thing I'm really sticking to that I'm really liking is the first 5 to 6 rounds of the draft. I really take the guy, like literally, I don't care about the build for the most part. I take the guy that I feel is the best pick at that spot based on who's left. And I literally really just stick to that. And what I'm finding is by default, it's mixed my teams up really nicely. I have some teams that I would consider definitely zero RB teams. That first draft that we drafted tonight, um, I forget who all they were, but we started, I think, four receivers in the first 5 rounds, something like that, because that's what I felt the board was giving me. So I have a really good mix this year of like zero RB teams. There's teams where I've taken Bijan JT type teams, or, Gibbs and Achan, something like that, because I felt they were maybe Puka went, but Gibbs was there at the 6 or 7 spot. So I went with Gibbs. Achan or JT was the best pick, I felt, in the second round. And so by doing that, by not having any type of, well, I want to build this team this way, or, well, I need to get more of this. Sometimes I will bump a guy up as far as my rankings or what I think about a guy, because when I do my reevaluation each week, or when I'm looking over my exposures, Lad is a good example. I told you I noticed the other day, today actually, when I was sitting at the airport, I noticed that in regular tournaments I had almost no Lad, and I don't want to be out on Lad. I like Lad. I think he's an awesome receiver. I think he'll definitely be their number one and get plenty of targets, and he's really good. So mentally, I'm kind of moving him up in my rankings a little bit so that I can get a little more of him. But just doing that has really allowed me this year to really just kind of totally mix up my exposure. So I would say I'm pretty balanced as far as I'm not super heavy zero RB, or I'm not super heavy late quarterback. I have a lot of Lamar teams. I have a decent amount of Allen teams. I have a decent amount of Daniels teams. Let's run through some of these last comments. Let's see, where did we leave off at? Good luck to all. GAB got out of here. Oh, okay. We had somebody else in the draft. I did not know that. I'm sorry about that I missed you. Let's see, where were you at? You said the 5 hole? Welcome to my streams, by the way, if you're still around. I've seen you in the chat a couple times tonight, but I'm not for sure I remember seeing you before, and we're glad to have you. Let's go look at your team real quick. 3582. It was a Dak Prescott, Geno Smith, Tyler Shough, Chase Brown, Hubbard, Mason, Tootin, and Rashard White. I like that running back room. 5 of them, but it's definitely 5 that could work. No overlap in bye weeks, so that's even better. CeeDee Lamb, Worthy, Godwin, Myers, Ibuka, Quentin Johnston, Wandale, and Slayton. Between the 2 of those really late guys, you probably can luck out and get a nice little Giants score from them. Brock and Mason Taylor. I just was talking about how I don't draft any early running backs with Brock. That's how a lot of my Brock teams look. Only Brock with one other tight end. One night on stream, I'm not gonna do it tonight because it's kind of getting kind of late. I'm gonna show you guys. So in a few different poodles, there was about a 3 or 4 day stretch last week when I was out of town, where in the poodles, Brock's been falling in the second round, and I was experimenting with drafting just Brock Bowers and no other tight end. One of them I have him with Lamb. I took Lamb at like the 4 or 5, and Brock came all the way back. I can't think of the other guys off the other first round picks that I did it with, but my thinking was it was actually Cody from Off the Schneid had originally made the comment in that big 6-hour stream that I did, and he was saying that like if he knew Brock Bowers was guaranteed to have the Travis Kelce season where he had like 1,300 yards, however many touchdowns, however many receptions, he would just draft Bowers and no other tight end. And I was thinking about it that weekend when I was flying out of town and stuff. And Brock Bowers almost had that type of season last year as a rookie with a far less quarterback than Geno Smith. And now we have what I think is an upgrade at offensive coordinator and definitely an upgrade at quarterback. And so I think that's something I want to play around with more because I'll show them to y'all maybe tomorrow night. I'll, I'll write it down real quick. Let me write myself a note. Tomorrow night, tune in. Y'all know the time, 10 p.m. Central. Before I do the drafts, I'm going to pull up those Brock Bauer teams that I just did a solo Brock team on. And we'll see what y'all think. But I actually like them a lot because if we take Bowers in the second round, then like for the team to be good, we really need him to be paying off that price tag really nice, like having an even better season than what he did last year, or at bare minimum having what he did last year again. So can we, you know, do we really need whatever tight end we draft really late as our second tight end? Do we really need those points in Brock Bowers' bye week? Yes, I'm going to need on those particular teams, and that's why I wouldn't do it with every Brock Bowers team, because on those particular teams, we're going to need Brock to stay healthy all year. Like, you know, even if he misses 3 games plus his bye week, that's 4 games that I'm taking a total 0 at tight end. That gets a little harder to get out of the pod. I'll show them to y'all though tomorrow before we jump into drafts. Yeah, but Ayuk is my 5th, and I still have past ADP. Yeah, I mean it could work. I was just saying that was my take on it. I was definitely thinking of taking Coker around 18, but I like the upside of the running backs better. And Montgomery, JT, and Ramondre could be mid. If JT is mid, then I don't know. The team's going to have a hard time, anyways. You think Taj could overtake Chase Brown? Interesting. You're the first person that I've heard say something like that about him. I like Taj Brooks. I don't love him. I like him though. But again, what I've been talking about all night, right? You could very much be right on that. Time will tell. My first team was super stacked at tight end. Kelce, Andrews, Laporta. That's right. Maybe I'm getting you mixed up with somebody else. I do remember that Kelce, Andrews, Laporta team, though. JT not mid, but more so injury risk. Same with Montgomery. Yeah, that makes more sense. That's why I'm so high on Giddens, but I'm actually really high on JT also because I just think that whoever's the running back there, if we assume that Anthony Richardson isn't going to play a lot of games this year or any, which I kind of lean towards not play a lot of games this year or any, then we also have to assume that they don't want Daniel Jones throwing the ball around, and Daniel Jones isn't going to be a straight designed rusher like Anthony Richardson is. JT is really good when he's healthy, and I love Giddens as a prospect. Hey, what's up, Dirty P? Thanks for stopping by. I've done a couple single tight end teams in the past. Dicey. My tight end Andrews missed time. Taking 0 at tight end cost me qualifying. Last round tight end is better than 0 at the position. I agree, and that's why I said that hey, thanks for stopping by. We appreciate you stopping by. Better late than never. That's why I said that I definitely wouldn't do it like on all of the Bowers teams, but I do have a pretty nice percentage of Bowers. I like Bowers. Let's look real quick. I got my exposures pulled up over there. Bowers is my second highest drafted tight end at 22%. And so since I draft Bowers a good amount, part of why I draft Bowers a lot though is because I am total opposite on McBride. McBride I am out on. I only have a little under 2% of McBride. I would just rather be way over on Bowers. I have my concerns about McBride, and my concerns for McBride isn't anything to do with McBride. It's simply that while touchdowns are not sticky, meaning most of the time I would say yes, if he only had 2 touchdowns, then he's probably due for some positive regression, and he's probably could very easily have an 8-10 touchdown year this year. He's an awesome tight end. But my problem with McBride and his ADP is I think in his particular case, it's a Kyler thing. I talked about it before. We all know Kyler's short, right? Short King Summer. We all know like about his height. The height jokes are out there. It doesn't affect him as much when you're in between the 20s. When the field is more spread out, the routes are happening further down the field. The defense by default is spread out more because they're trying to cover a larger area of the field. And so he can find McBride over the middle or wherever he's at. The problem, or my biggest concern, which is why I don't draft McBride, is because in the red zone, it's a combination of ideally in the middle of the end zone is the type of routes where your tight end are normally going to work in the red zone because your receivers are starting outside, right? And everything happens even so much quicker in the red zone. You don't have time for generally receivers to run way from the outside into the middle, tight ends to jet to the outside. Yes, it happens sometimes, but ideally, tight ends score a lot of their touchdowns right there in that middle part of the end zone. And I think that's where Kyler's height really gives him the most trouble is when they say, especially the 15-yard line in, where now everything's so much more compact. And so you have the offensive and defensive line who are so much taller than Kyler, and McBride's routes have to be a little bit shorter even because they're compact down in the red zone. And I really just think that's a really hard throw for Kyler to make. Go back and watch every touchdown pass that Kyler's thrown in the last few years in the red zone, like inside the actual 20. There's not a ton of them that go right there to that middle portion of the field. So that's my concern with McBride. I could be totally wrong. They could figure out a way to get him the ball more in the end zone this year, and he could have 8 touchdowns. And I wish I did draft him more. Right now, that's not what I'm doing, though. My team that advanced to week 17 last year had basically 2 zeros at tight end all season. I had another team with Jamar, Saquon, Kyron, Bowers, McBride, and Ladd, McLaurin, Jaden that didn't even advance that past week 15. Pod luck, right? Like so much of it is pod luck. And it goes back to what I was saying earlier about that's what I love about best ball so much, right? Is this it really is a game of skill in that we have to really be thoughtful about how we want to put these teams together to give them the best chance to then get lucky and succeed because luck also does play a big part in it. Anyways, guys, I'm going to call it a night for tonight. It's getting late. I got a lot of stuff around here to catch up on this week. We're back, though. You can count on us being here at 10 o'clock Central, every night like we always are, unless we adjust the time for a guest or something like that. Tomorrow night, tune in at the start, 10 o'clock. We'll go over those couple teams I was telling you about that I played around with this past week. Look at the solo Bowers teams that I drafted. We'll probably do a pit bull and then something else, whatever you guys want to. Y'all have a good night. I will leave you guys because I don't know how much longer I'm going to have it, because I'm going to cut it up and do something else with it. Draft those Ravens. Good night.
But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me.
I think Lamar and that offense is going to be on a mission this year. What is
Got something to say, yeah. I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits.